Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars, welcome to another PlayStation 4 review. Today's review is for Mr. Prepper. Now Mr. Prepper is like a survival adventure game, resource management and a bit of crafting involved in it as well. And essentially you play a character called Mr. Prepper, who is living in an oppressive government. You've got to basically do as you're told or you're going to get in a lot of trouble. He's not having this, of course, so he decides to prepare to essentially escape. He does this by building like a huge bunker underneath his house, even though you get regular visits from like these government agents. So you've got to kind of, on the surface, look like you are behaving yourself, but underground you are prepping for the future. Right, what are my thoughts on Mr. Prepper? Well, this was released late last week, and I, to be honest, I wanted to get a review up of this a little bit earlier, but I've been really busy with work and other things for the channel and just life itself, really. So it's taken me a little bit longer to play enough of this for me to be able to get a review out for you guys. Is this a game that you're going to be interested in? Well, this will depend very much on what kind of games you like to play, basically. Now, in regards to the price point, this was priced, I think it was $11.99 in the UK, which is a decent actual price for the game, and I don't really have an issue with that price point at all. It is fairly priced, I think. And it's quite a unique game, and as you know, if you follow my content, you know that I really like chilled out games. And this does definitely fall into that category. It's quite slow paced and it is very chilled for the most part. Sometimes the pacing of the game even gets to me because I actually find like I'm struggling to make any progress. And I would say the early going in this game is a bit of a struggle, because you do genuinely feel like you're not making any progress in the game, and it's just like real baby steps. But you do get to a point in this game where it kind of explodes and it opens up for you, and more opportunities open up for you in regards to what you can craft and what you can do and the places you can visit and so on and so forth. But it does take a few hours, probably well over 5 hours, until you start getting to a point where you really do feel like you're making any progress. And essentially what you have to do in your house is, like I say, you start building this underground bunker, and then you've got to kind of go around and collect resources. So this could be like the usual stuff: wood, metal. You're going to need stone, so you will get to a point in the game where you can go down a mine and you can start mining for things that you're going to need. You can make connections within your community who will trade with you for other resources. You could travel to other parts of the map, like I say, like a mine, forest, things like that, to collect the resources you need, but also to do little missions here and there. Now, the game does, in some respect, hold your hand a little bit early on in the game, but it's not the most intuitive tutorial I've ever played. It kind of just, it's one of those tutorials that kind of tells you what to do, but doesn't always tell you how to do it. So you do kind of have a few missteps early on, and I was really struggling to figure out what the controls were. For example, like the workbench. Initially, you've got to kind of move the workbench and hide it in your underground bunker, because the agent that comes to visit your house once a week, if he sees things in your house that suggest you are not behaving yourself, then you're going to get in trouble. And essentially it's game over if his suspicion level is too high. So you've got to kind of move this workbench early on in the game. So you go and grab it, and then for the life of me, I could not figure out how to get that out of my inventory and put it down in my bunker. And then it became nighttime, so I couldn't see, and I hadn't put any lights up. It was a nightmare. So I think the tutorial could have been a little bit more intuitive and a little bit more helpful early on to really help you get to grips with the game and the controls. But eventually you get there. Another annoyance with the game is you can't save. The only way you can save this game is by sleeping in your bed at night. And sometimes you just want a quick save option because you've got things to do or whatever. So it's really difficult, to be fair. going through a whole day, and like a whole day in this game could consist of, I don't know, 45 minutes, maybe longer. And you can have naps in between. But it can be a real annoyance because that's the only way to save the game. So I think a quick save option would have been very, very helpful here. The crafting's pretty good, pretty easy, pretty simple to pick up. Once you figure out what all the controls are, and then you can expand what you can craft and all this kind of stuff. The game itself, how it looks, well, to be honest, it's serviceable. It's not going to win any awards for how it looks, but it's actually a little bit better than my first reactions. When you actually look at some of the detail in the game, it's actually not too bad at all. Very basic sound. There's no voice acting apart from the voiceover at the beginning of the game, at like the cutscene. So essentially it's like crafting, resource management. You've got to kind of grow things in your bunker to keep yourself sustainable. You've got to save your water. You've got to make sure you've got enough power, because the more things you add into your bunker, the more power it's going to need. It does have combat, the game, but it is abysmal. It's not very good at all. It's very, very basic sideways combat, and it is definitely not something that's going to be a selling point for this game. So yeah, I mean, it's a chilled out experience for me, but I've got to be honest, I'm not overly in love with it. I don't know why. It's just not grabbed me, this one. I think it's a little bit too slow paced, even for me. And to be honest, I turned a little bit sour to it as I was getting to the point where I started unlocking things and really getting into the game a little bit more. I'd kind of got to the point where I was a little bit fed up of it by then. You just spend too much of your time in game eating and sleeping. You tire very quickly, I think, in the game, because it gives you a nap option as well. But also in the game, you're constantly pretty much having to eat. And if you leave things in your pockets and you don't put it in the fridge, they spoil very quickly. So you can eat things, you can cook things, and all this kind of stuff, grow things to eat and all that kind of stuff. But it feels like the balancing's a little bit off, in a sense of you're constantly having to nap, eat, and it doesn't leave you an awful lot of time to collect resources and craft and do the real fun stuff, which is the crafting and the building in the bunker and that kind of stuff. So there's hits and misses here with this game. It's not a bad game, and I do think it's priced just right, and it will really depend on if this is the sort of thing that you're going to enjoy. Me personally, I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10 because it just didn't click with me, but it may well click with you. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.